What's up, everybody? Hope all is well. Frederick Murphy here again with another episode of History Before Us, and I am in the bustling metropolis of Kingstree, South Carolina. That's what Vicki calls it. And so we are here at the Epps-McGill house, as you can see behind me. There's the home. It was last lived in 2001, and we have some individuals who've lived in the community and very familiar with the house. That again is right here behind me. And up first we have Norman. What's up, brother? How you doing today?
How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, and y'all, this is very impromptu. We were sitting out front. Norman come around the corner, checking it out, seeing what's going on, and agreed to be part of the video. So, brother, you've been around here since about 2 years old, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you give us your lived experience being in this community, as well as your connection to the house, whether it's by proximity or being a descendant?
Well, when we was young, we used to play under the house a long time ago, and we used to play at bottles and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And summertime, it used to be a cool house. No air conditioning. We just had the oak trees and the door wide open and the fan.
That was it.
That's it. That was it. That was fun. And chill out. Sometimes we stay on the front porch one time and watch the traffic go by.
Now, was this road always paved?
Yes, I've always been paved. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we used to play on the trees. We used to climb up the trees sometimes. We had some other trees over here, but the storm knocked them down. And there was a little house right there. And it was a good time over here. Granddaddy had a farm back there. Used to play with the hogs and the horses back there.
Okay.
But
So it sounds like there was way more acreage here at one point of time.
Yeah, most of it.
In your recent memory.
Yes.
Okay, about how many acres was it? And can you kind of paint the scene of what everyday life would have been out here on the farm?
On the farm, well, all that wasn't there one time. All that was field one time. And then back behind the place was field over there. And there's a projects back there now, but back there we could go all the way to the woods. You know? Had a little pony used to ride way back there and hit the woods and have a classmate way down there. And approximately, we have some acres over there.
Okay.
That's about 20 acres over there.
Oh, wow.
Acres over there. And used to plant some stuff over there. My granddaddy did, cucumber, watermelon. And we used to kill hogs back there. And
Now, how would y'all prepare them? Would you put them in the ground?
No, we put the barrel in the ground and get the hot water and scald them and, get the hair off them. Then it had a little tree back there. Used to hang them upside and cut them out and used to play with the intestines when we were young. We were young, so how it look. But other than that, it was all right, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Me and my cousin knows, friends knows. Had a good time back in the days back there.
For sure. Now, were you always well versed on the history of the home, or was that something that kind of came along as you got older?
Well, as came along and I get older, it used to be Dr. Fryerson's house back in the days before, and all this was a farmhouse.
Okay.
And all this was all field one time.
Okay.
Back in the day, there was no houses back here. So this house is on top of the hill, so you can be able to see all through the fields and in that area back in the days. And my granddad was a good friend with Dr. Frierson. So Mr. Frierson let him use the house to do farming back in the days.
So he was sharecropping?
He was sharecropping,
Okay.
yeah, sharecropping back in the days. And after that, he kept sharecropping, and that's why I still got it right now today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I go to so many different places and visit so many homes and things like that. And it's often people are coming to the site who don't have any type of ownership or any real deal connection to it anymore. But that's not the case, obviously, for this family.
No.
How does it feel knowing that you're really in the minority of folks that can say that, hey, I can still come to this location, I can still go inside, I still have these vivid memories, etc., that some people may not be able to say anymore. So how good does that feel that you have that?
I feel pretty good, feel pretty good to be able to do that and remember the childhood I had and experience and the things I learned by farming and killing and all that. So it was very good, remember the days and some of the stuff to remember what for over 50 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's pretty good. And we have a blackberry tree right here.
Okay.
Just come down and get all the blackberries out of it. Now back there, we used to have a pack house. We used to keep the farm equipment.
Mm-hmm.
We had a horse. We had a mule one time in behind there and keep the
Chickens,
tobacco.
I'm sure.
Yeah, chicken coop used to be right there.
Okay.
And
Did you ever complain with having to do any of the work, or was it just kind of
No.
part of just what you all knew as survival?
That's part of survival, you know. You used to have to cut the wood and put up in the house. We had to do that plenty of the time.
Yeah.
And back there used to be the tobacco way over there. Kingstree, we just had a big thing in tobacco there. We had a couple of tobacco warehouse back there. We got
Okay.
Brown's warehouse, and then we had one downtown that we used to do a lot of tobacco there. That was a big thing in Kingstree back in the days. A lot of people used to count on that tobacco. My granddad used to get on the tobacco because you got to stack them up and put them down to the market down there. So,
Yeah.
But that was the big thing back then in the days, back in Kingstree.
Okay.
Yeah. And cucumbers too, because we had
Cucumbers as well.
Yeah, cucumbers were over there. Beans.
Beans.
Yeah.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously there's some efforts going to revitalize the home.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to your thoughts on that and what it would mean for you to see this in your lifetime coming to fruition?
Well, it'd be a good thing, just like an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? A good upgrade. You know what I'm saying? We got some, things so long it's been rotting up sometime, but it'd be a good upgrade and see how beautiful it look again. You know what I'm saying? And that'd be a good improvement, a good nice eye to see. You know what I'm saying? A good nice eye to see. So it'd be real good. And then it'd be a history of something from the black people on our side. You know what I'm saying? Because people come by and see how historic it was. Yeah. Seeing this house, because they got one over town. Mm-hmm. That's like a white house thing, but this will be a black thing over this side.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Good stuff. Yeah. Anything else that you would like for viewers that may be looking at this to know about the home and to know about your lived experience here and just the legacy of it?
Well, like I say, it was cool, and summertime, and it was nice. Just chilling out, watching grandma. My grandma used to cook up in there with some good biscuit up in there.
Homemade biscuits, huh?
Homemade biscuit. And used to go upstairs to get on the top porch and look through the window back in the day we were young. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of things. And what else? I enjoyed it. I didn't never had no complaints about it. Yeah.
What were family reunions like?
Oh, this chill on the tree, be on the porch. There was a tree here. All these were trees. There was another tree over there, 2 or 3 trees over there, but the storm knocked them. So everybody used to just cool out, park under the tree, and just chill out and cool out.
How far would people come from?
New York, D.C., Florida, Georgia, Texas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Texas, yeah. And used to come because my grandma used to cook when they come, or they used to help grandma cook when she was there. So
yeah. How old was your grandfather when he passed?
He was 80. Was it 80 something? Yeah. 80 something. 80 something. Okay. Yeah. Probably 82. 82, yeah. Yeah.
Now, as it relates to you all's family history from a genealogy standpoint, how far have you been able to go back? Are you connected to the McGill side?
Yeah, yeah.
So how far have you all been able to go back with the researching of the family history?
Vicki know that one.
I knew that. I'm going to ask you, but I didn't know if Norman may have known as well. So he's like, yeah, we're going to pass the buck to Vicki.
Yeah, Vicki know that.
Good. Well, I appreciate you for sharing that information with us, man. And for anybody that's watching this, if you are a McGill descendant and you got some Kingstree, South Carolina ancestry, it could be right here, and you could also be connected to the Epps-McGill house. So, it's just some food for thought for you all, for sure. Hopefully. And next up, we got Vicki. What's up, Vicki? How you doing?
Fine, you?
You all, I'm doing good. Vicki drove down from D.C. we've known each other virtually for a while.
Yes.
But then last year at the AUGS conference
In
here
Charleston.
in Charleston, then that's when we connected, and she told me about the farmhouse and was like, yo, you got to come down.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, let's make it happen.
Yes.
So we're here.
And here we are. Here we are.
Absolutely. So obviously a cousin.
Yes.
Yes. Norman obviously gave us some information about his time here. And you had said specifically, we weren't the kids that were shipped down during the summer,
Right.
but you did come down and spend
Yes.
time here, of course. Appreciate it, Norman.
All right, now.
All right, brother. So give us your experience and then also the efforts in revitalization, and we will be able to go inside the house at some point. Cool.
So my dad was Herman Abraham McGill, and he was Norman's father's first cousin.
Okay.
Norman's father was Norman McGill as well.
Okay.
And we would come down here every summer to spend time, both parents being from South Carolina, my mom from Newberry, which is kind of upstate, and then my dad down here closer to the low country.
Okay.
And I mean, we would come every summer and spend time here in Kingstree, spend nights, like prior to there even being a hotel where people would stay.
Mm-hmm.
We would stay with relatives down here.
And was that all along this street? There were relatives all along here, or were they spread out across town?
Spread out different places. And the family actually moved from what's considered to be the country, or down the country, which is farther down towards Georgetown County.
Okay.
Yeah, towards Georgetown County, in an area in the Bloomingdale community, which still exists.
Okay.
And in the 50s or so, they moved up here.
Okay.
To come to town.
So they
down
moved
there,
up like the Jeffersons.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I got you.
And down there, they were renting land. And the interesting thing, like genealogically, is Uncle Weaver's grandfather was Lewis McGill. And Lewis McGill owned a lot of land.
Okay.
Lewis McGill, I've seen transactions where he bought 100 acres, 200 acres, 300 acres.
Really?
Yes.
At separate times?
Yes.
Goodness.
Yes. He and his wife, Lucy, who was Lucy Hannah, they bought land, and somehow after they both died around 1913, the land was lost.
Now, what year were they born? Were these
in the 1830s?
Okay, so these were formerly enslaved humans.
Yes.
Okay. Now, were they enslaved or were they free people of color?
They were enslaved.
Okay.
I'm sure they were enslaved.
Okay.
And that's where the McGill name came from. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he owned land, and it's interesting that the next generation or two generations ended up renting, ended up not owning land, and the descendants losing that land, or as I said, losing that land some kind of way through foreclosure, things of that nature, although they still owned land.
Mm-hmm.
So then Uncle Weaver, so first my grandmother, after my grandfather, who was Burgess, died down the country, moved the family up here, and they were the first ones to rent the house.
Okay.
And then they were here for maybe a couple of years, and then in 1953, they moved to Rochester, and Uncle Weaver.
Rochester, New York?
Yeah, Rochester, New York. And then Uncle Weaver and his family moved here.
Okay.
And then they stayed here, and eventually he ended up being deeded the land.
When was your first trip down? And what is it that you remember that stood out from a memory standpoint? Yeah, not like, I'm sure you were maybe a newborn.
Exactly.
And, people had to come see the shiny new baby.
And speaking of that, so I was born in 1967. In 1968, King died. Martin Luther King died.
Yes,
and he had been here to speak, actually. They're getting ready to do the 60th anniversary of him being in Kingstree to speak.
Wow.
So my dad was an educator in DC public schools. And when the riots broke out and stuff, he took my mom and I and brought us down to South Carolina just to keep us safe. So that would probably be my first trip. I have absolutely no memory of that.
Right.
But one of my memories is that, always coming every summer. And I remember one year, Uncle Weaver had gotten a pony. Mm-hmm. And he was a little pony. I was tall as a kid. Mm-hmm. And I was probably taller than the pony at that time. But I do remember riding on the pony with a blanket between me and the pony. No saddle or anything.
Yeah. Old school.
I also remember after a while, we would start coming down and doing Thanksgiving dinner here at the house. And a lot of stuff was cooked outside on the grill, and then
Okay.
other stuff, Aunt Mag and others
And
will
this is
cook
where
in
the
the
kitchen
house.
is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll go
Yeah,
there
in the
soon.
kitchen right there.
Okay.
But one of my memories of the hogs, now Norman mentioned the hogs used to be farther away. I remember the hogs being right here.
Right here.
Like where that piece
Post
of wood
is?
is. Yeah, where that wooden post is. So the house right here is also a family house. Uncle Manzi and Aunt Iola Fulmer. And one year, he went in the cellar and got things that had been canned. We don't know when the things were canned, but he brought out fruit and just gave it to the hogs. Well, come to realize it was fermented, because the next thing
They
we
were
knew,
all
the hogs,
passed out.
yes, the hogs were passed out. The hogs were passed out. So that is my memory of the hogs.
Were they all
being
laying on their
right here.
side?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Quiet, snoring maybe. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's my hogs right here by the house
Yeah.
memory.
So was this history always something that was talked about within the family for you? Because, you know, obviously growing up in DC, you know that there was a connection here, but was there a pipeline of just communication about the family history here up to DC?
So we started having family reunions in 1989. Yeah, I think it's 1989. That's the first shirt that I have.
Okay.
So around 1989
Okay.
was our first family reunion. And we definitely talked about history at that point. And, you know, there were all kinds of stories. Possibly somebody swam across a river in Texas, things of that nature that I'm still working to find out the facts of.
Well, and being that you brought up Texas, because I don't want anyone to think that that was random, but we just left a memorial site.
Yeah.
And can you tell people about the connection to Texas from Kingstree?
So the site we went to earlier was the Kingstree to Galveston historic marker, which is down by the train depot here in Kingstree. And with that, back in 1867, there's a Freedmen's Bureau transportation list from 1867, where 435 freedmen, women, and children were added to a transportation request to provide transportation for them to leave Kingstree and go down to Galveston to work in parts of Texas on labor contracts.
Okay.
So there is definitely a direct connection between this area and parts of Texas.
Okay. And so you all hear that. So if you're doing some genealogy research and you have a McGill surname or maybe other surnames, Shaw was one.
Yeah. There's Gamble. Neesmith. There's a lot of different names.
James is another one that I saw on
Dozier,
there.
Hannah.
Yeah.
So many different surnames. There's actually a website for the memorial. There's a couple of them, but one of them is Kingstree to GalvestonMemorial.com.
Okay. So people will be able to see that, and you may be able to find where there is a direct connection here.
Right. Because the surnames are on one page, just the surnames, and then all 435 names, as well as the Freedmen's Bureau documents, are on there as well.
Okay. Got you. Anything else out here outside of what Norman had discussed that stands out to you before we go inside the house?
The fact that we can see the tin that's laying on the ground.
Yep.
And if we walk this way a little bit.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So right here.
Watch out for snakes. They're out now.
We have cedar shingles. So if we look at the roof, we now see an asphalt roof.
Yes.
Which we got grant money from the South Carolina State Historic Preservation Office to redo this roof. And this one, there's a lot of work needed on the house. And that was the first project that we were able to undertake. Prior to when the house, at some point, cedar shingles were put on the house.
Okay.
And over time, as they started to wear, then Uncle Weaver, and I'm guessing other people helped him, added the tin on top. And we can see rust, we can see tin in different conditions.
Sure.
But over time, you know, weather, some of the tin blew off. And you know, some of these blew off as well.
Okay. And so, like, you all know that if you look down in some of the descriptions of some of the places that I've been, and they may have like some campaigns going where you can donate. So I think this would be a good time to kind of plug that in.
Yeah.
And we'll do it now, and we'll do it, of course, later.
Okay.
But you all are doing, of course, the revitalization efforts. Where can people go to support this project?
Epps-McGill Farmhouse.org is our website. And we have a nonprofit, which is McGill and Associates, that has taken on the effort to revitalize this house. And the plan is for the first floor to become a museum that focuses on tenant farming or sharecropping, the foodways, the processes, what people grew, things of that nature.
Yeah, good stuff. And right now it's going to be a good time for me to plug too. And if you like this type of content, please make sure that you subscribe to it, and also consider becoming a member, because it does help with travel. It helps with visibility and things like that, especially if you like unheralded history. So just keep that in mind. So is it cool if we go ahead and walk inside?
Yes, sir.
Now, while we do such, can you tell us the Epps connection? Because this was not a property that was originally owned by
The
Black
McGill
folks,
family, right.
Right? And so where does the Epps connection come in at?
So this house was built between 1905 and 1907 as the marital house for Silas Epps. His middle name is Wright some another, but Silas Epps and his bride, Carolyn Monroe.
Okay.
And over time, they built, and although the house looks like something that may have been a plantation house, it just wasn't built in that time period. But I'm quite sure, there's that history in their family. But they built this as their marital house. They stayed here a few years, and then eventually it became a tenant farming house.
All right, so we're heading on up. How does it feel for you to be able to, and you actually make the trip back, as much as you can. So,
Yeah.
How does it feel for you to be able to come back to a place that, holds so many memories and that so many families cannot say that they can do?
I'm very proud to be able to come back, and proud to remember growing up, coming down here and remembering so many family events here.
Okay.
Because, it wasn't just family reunion stuff. When there was a funeral, there would be gatherings here before and after the funeral, things of that nature. At one point, we had lights.
Wow. This house is pretty big.
It is. It definitely is.
Where did you sleep? Upstairs?
I never stayed here.
You never stayed?
I never stayed here.
Okay.
You want to go up first?
Yeah, let's do it.
No, I said, do you want to go up
no, you're
first?
fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So you never stayed here, but this was always, to be, of course, a family home.
Yes.
Typically, whenever you would come down, how long would you stay?
We would stay at least a week. But I do remember coming down for a couple of summers where just my sister and I came and stayed like at my grandmother's house in West Columbia, and then came down and spent a few weeks. So my parents came down and got us. Okay, got you. So obviously we're on the top floor. Yes.
And when you were here, did this door open?
Yes.
All right.
Let's see. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think they screwed it shut.
Now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Prior to the construction, because you were able to open it before.
Okay.
But you'll notice that it's double porched.
Yep.
And you notice that there's windows here, almost as though this was the front of the house instead of the porch.
Yeah, I do see that.
But this was a bedroom.
Okay, the main bedroom?
No, this was a bedroom.
Just a bedroom. We do have a main.
There's
master.
a bedroom downstairs.
Oh,
there's a bedroom downstairs, and then there's a room that was the parlor.
Okay.
That when one of Uncle Weaver's daughters got sick and moved back home, became her bedroom.
Okay. Got you. And with all the renovations and everything that's been transpiring, have you all come across anything that's been very interesting that you found, whether it was in the walls or, with the paint being stripped or, wallpaper?
So, now, understand, the only thing that's actually been done is the roof. The stuff where we see lath exposed has just been from deterioration over time. So none of this has been done yet. Okay. All of this has to be done.
Okay. See some books over here on civilization, the spirit of Robert F. Kennedy, Anti-Death League.
The changing world of man. Sophocles.
Yeah.
Okay.
They got some good stuff in here.
But as far as stuff that was in the house, we cleaned out the house 2 summers ago in anticipation of construction.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have seen the shipping containers out there.
Yes.
That's full of artifacts or things from the house. I mean, there's old beds. There's even a washing machine where, you know, with the roller on top, that type of thing. There's cast iron wash pots, old sewing machines. There's a variety of things. And when I say old sewing machine, like the one with the treadle that you use your foot to pedal type of thing.
Were any of those things identified as ancestral heirlooms? That, you know, even though, you know, the property, you know, was, you know, you all obtained the property later on, but some earlier artifacts.
I'm sure that the majority of that stuff is stuff that was family stuff.
Okay, passed down perhaps?
Yeah, because with my grandfather, my paternal grandfather having died in the early 50s, some of the stuff that he had when the family moved out of the country up here came.
Okay.
And so since they went to Rochester, a lot of that stuff wasn't taken.
Yeah, it stayed here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it could have been something from his grandmother or grandfather or aunts and uncles and those types of relationships.
And I'm quite sure, you know, stuff from the community as well.
Yeah, yeah, this is true.
Another bedroom.
Okay. When you would come up here, would you all have free reign and can play wherever, or would you have to?
We stayed where our parents were.
Okay.
I mean, you may have run around outside, but you were not running around in the house.
Did you all deem this to be, you know, especially, you know, coming down from DC and the size of it? Because, you know, I'm thinking of like just the homes that I knew out in the quote unquote country when I grew up, you know, they weren't this size.
Right.
And of course, we know that this house wasn't originally a house owned by Black folks, right? But were you all kind of like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it's out in the country, but the house is a nice size and we ain't all on top of each other, et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of made it okay? Or did you have a different perception of the house that you would be coming to when you were a child?
I just remember my dad always referred to this as the two-story house. The two-story house. Okay. Because if you drive around, you don't really see two-story houses.
Mm-mm.
Everything is one level. Okay. This two-story house was different than some of the others that existed in that it came under the ownership of Black people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good. Now this is my mother's name, so I got to check this out. My mother's name is Carolyn. And so what was this? Art and Civilization. This was Carolyn's book.
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew her.
No, I didn't know her.
Oh. Oh, I get what you're saying because of the book. Oh, well, she's in Middleton. It says Carolyn Middleton.
Oh, wow.
So obviously a South Carolina name, the Middleton Plantation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a very historic lot. I will say that.
Oh yeah, this is old. The white Epps, are they still around? White Epps, are they still in this community? And what was the relationship with the Epps and McGill's post-emancipation? Like, were they still communicating with each other? Have you sought out any, or any sought you out?
Well, now remember that McGill Epps connection started in the 50s.
So it wasn't any connection prior to and we're saying the 50s, you're talking 1950s?
Right.
So there wasn't any connection perhaps prior to then?
No, I wouldn't, not the white Epps, I wouldn't think.
Because, you know, usually in rural areas, these names are usually tied for decades and centuries.
Right. But now remember, the folks moved from out the country to town. Okay. And it was probably what property was available and affordable
at the time
that they could work the land.
Mm-hmm. All right, next room. More books.
There were other books and stuff before we cleaned out. And one thing you notice, all of the ceilings is tongue and groove.
Mm-hmm.
This was the back of
Oh, yeah. So that string was for handing tobacco. So another story from my youth. One summer coming down, and there was the opportunity to work handing tobacco for one day. So that string that she just showed was what women would use. You would hand bunches of tobacco and they would string it on a stick that looks like a garden stake at this point. And that's how they tied it on there to be put in the barn for curing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This was supposed
Just
to be
based on the
bathroom.
size, yeah.
Yeah. You see where some of the doors are higher than others and lower.
Yes. So this
the house doesn't smell old though. It doesn't have like a, you know what I'm saying? Like I walk into some homes and it's just like smells old.
Like old people,
yeah, old,
right?
old. But this it doesn't even really have a smell. It doesn't
And
give you that.
maybe you can credit that to the fact that you can see air. I mean,
This
you
is
can see
true.
daylight.
Yeah, you can see
so
daylight.
There's definitely an air exchange
It's going
versus something that's just closed up.
in. Yeah. Got some nativity figurines over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Some seashells right here.
And you see the light system was, electrical outside of the boards.
Yeah.
And then a single light.
That would not pass inspections today.
Yeah, no. No.
But they made it work back then. So,
They did.
leave well enough alone, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. And these are some tall ceilings up here too, so.
Right.
This was the end of the house.
Right here.
Okay, this was the end of the house
Yeah.
right here. And so this was added on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you see there's a stairwell down there too.
Does this takes us right back down to the first? Okay.
Right by the kitchen.
All right, you letting us go, Miss Lily? Okay, I got you. Back down to the first floor. When did you all start can you tell us about how everything got started with the inception of wanting to revitalize this home? Was it ever in danger of potentially being knocked down?
It wasn't ever in danger of being knocked down, but it definitely deteriorated over time. As it's almost like a house knows when nobody's living in it, because then it starts falling apart. So that type of thing.
Okay.
But cousin Lily and her daughter Lynn started working on getting it added to the National Historic Registry.
Okay.
Or National Registry of Historic Places. And it was added in 2020, which is during COVID. And we actually got the historic marker that's out front and dedicated that in 2023.
Wow.
And with that, a nonprofit was formed along the way, and that got us to being able to qualify first and apply for grants.
Okay.
So we are actively looking for and applying for grants and hoping and praying to be awarded stuff to have more work done in addition to the fundraising that we do on our own.
Okay. And give us the scope on what you would like, or what everyone's vision of the home to be once, because we're going to speak into existence, once it's awarded. So
once we have gotten together enough money and done the construction portion of it, this first floor will be converted into a museum that's dedicated to sharecropping.
Okay.
Yeah.
So panels and things like that and artifacts connected to the time period.
Yes. And we definitely have a good amount of artifacts that can be rotating displays here in the house. And, also plan on doing programming and things of that nature. And right now, we're working with the International African American Museum in Charleston to do a community scanning event.
It's too dark. So oftentimes you hear white folks saying that, well, my family sharecropped too, right? And there's truth to that, right?
There are people who were enslaved.
Right. But there is a difference between,
most definitely,
black folks who were sharecroppers versus white folks that were sharecroppers. There's a difference to chattel enslavement versus indentured servitude.
Yeah.
And so has that come up anywhere in you all's, like I know you all have a Facebook page and social media pages, has that argument come about anywhere?
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
Not at all. And I mean, if you really think about the sharecropping system for African Americans, the farmer or the property owner was who kept the books.
For sure.
And we come out of people who were not allowed to read or write.
Mm-hmm.
So if the most you could do was count, as opposed to reading whatever or signing whatever, and all you were doing was just signing with an X, you were at the mercy of that person who was doing the accounting.
That's right.
Versus white people were always allowed to read and write. So they could write down their own stuff, keep track of their own stuff.
Yep.
And if they argued about the final accounting, there was more of a possibility
Yeah,
that
because they
their
have the
stuff,
proof that X, Y, and Z was there.
exactly.
Yeah.
While we may have had the proof, was the proof believed?
Mm-hmm.
Doubtful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
So Sanai M is controlling the camera right now while she's on spring break. So I'm happy that she is going to be my road buddy doing this, right?
Yeah.
And so, because we got to teach them young.
Yeah.
So the first floor museum.
Yeah.
Ms. Lily, I know you're over there, but you're an expert, it sounds like, in a lot of this, right? You've been providing us a lot of good information. What is it going to feel like with you seeing this coming to fruition? And if you don't mind, I'm just gonna, you don't have to get in the camera if you don't want to, but I just want to get your voice. Hold on, and you can just hold that and then speak. So, yeah.
My husband wanted to do this renovation, and when he died in 2018, Lynn and I decided to take his vision and move forward with that. One of the persons who does a lot of the historical things for white people suggested to him that he try to do something with the house, and he followed through.
Okay.
But then how are you going to feel once it comes to fruition?
How am I going to feel?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. This has been a work of with a whole lot of effort.
Yeah. I got you.
I'm sure that I'll be happy, but it's a task.
Yeah. Good.
But it looks as if we'll get it.
Yes, for sure. All right. So let's go to the other rooms that we got downstairs. Fair, we good? Yep. Sanai? All right. And so you said that it was a bigger bedroom down here.
So that's a bedroom there, but then there's the parlor. What was the parlor? What were you about to say?
That was a bedroom there.
Oh, this was a bedroom where we just came out of. Okay.
Yeah. And then this was a parlor, but at one point the parlor had a bed in it.
Okay.
And this was kind of the room where they would entertain prior to, I guess, a bed being there.
Okay. Nice.
But then we also see that you could get to the porch from this room too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to throw water in these fans as a kid.
Oh,
So much fun. I used to do that as a kid. Yeah, so
why?
just being bored.
Okay.
Yeah, especially when I got grounded. You know, I like to be outside, and it was more so when I was grounded, and you know how you speak into the fan and do all that kind of stuff. The way you're doing this, I feel like it's a grand exit.
Okay, I guess we'll just go out one side because I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Front porch time.
There's definitely pictures of people sitting out
on the
here.
front porch.
Yeah.
Right, but the swing.
Yeah, you can see where the swing was.
Yeah, right up top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do see that. And you got that nice southern breeze.
Most definitely.
So the tree. Let's talk about the tree.
At one point, moss used to hang from it too.
Okay.
Yeah, as Norman said, Norman and Lily talked about the pot up there was to lure the squirrels
For dinner.
for dinner.
Listen, I've had fried squirrel, and it isn't too bad. My father and the folks in the country, they would fry it. They would smoke possum, turtle soup,
Okay.
coon.
Yeah,
Oh, loved
yeah.
coon. Barbecue coon. They loved coon. I'm telling you. So
I
yeah.
remember one time the man across the street from my parents' house had given my father some coon, and I just remember looking at the plate in the refrigerator. It just looked like paws, and I was like, "No, I'm good."
Leaving it alone, right?
Right.
For sure. So you say you have pictures of folks that are here on the front
Yeah, we
porch?
have pictures of family members and other community members sitting here
Are
on
they
the
archived
porch.
anywhere? The family photos
Uh,
digitally?
in my computer.
Just on your computer. But not like with the county library or anything like
No,
that.
no.
Is that something that once everything gets rocking and rolling that you are considering, or is this
So
something
there
that you want to keep
is
from an autonomy standpoint?
there is an African American Archives Museum here in
Oh, really?
Kingstree
Okay.
that came about 2 years ago. Okay,
Okay.
within the last 4 years, and I think they're working on a digital archive.
Okay.
So we'll look at the possibility of donating stuff there. But that's definitely one thing that I've wanted to find is community pictures here in Kingstree.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like whenever I see a porch that we have to sit down on it,
Okay.
even if it's just for a second, and do what the yeah, I see that, and do what the old timers used to do. Oh,
Oh Lord, can we get back up?
oh yeah, that's the thing. Can we get back up? So we're out here on the front porch, obviously, and so you're looking out of your eyes through which are the same lens of your ancestors that would be able to see farmland, obviously, and not necessarily homes and things like that.
Right.
What does it mean for you to, be able to sit at the same spaces, walk in the same spaces that your ancestors once did, and them spiritually knowing that you are still down here, or some folks have picked up the mantle to carry out their legacy?
For me, it's a blessing for first and foremost for the house to still be in our family, but also just to be able to sit on this older furniture that they sat on in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And, this was a place of community gathering. So for me, it's a great feeling for this to still exist and for us to have the opportunity to raise money to restore it to what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
And with the plan of a museum.
Yes, absolutely. And as it relates to people in the neighborhood, whenever you all are out here, when people, or if there had been any news coverage or what have you, do people come over and ask questions, or is everyone pretty much familiar with the house? And so for them, it's just like it's part of the furniture, so it's not necessarily something that they care to partake in.
No, there are people who just show up. There's security cameras here, and there are people who just roll up
Yeah.
and decide they're going to take a look around.
Okay.
And it'll be random people. So there are still people who don't know the history. But then I think there are also people who are curious about what's inside, what's the plans for it. Because I know once we started doing social media campaigns, there were people who commented, I wondered what was going to happen with it. I'm glad that the family is starting to do something.
Yeah. Now, the day that the historical marker was erected, what was that day like? I'm sure you were here, Miss Lily, right? Mm-hmm.
That was sometime in October 2023.
Okay.
People just kept coming.
Yeah.
This whole yard was full. We had speakers from the town's leadership. We had singers, we had prayers, things of that nature. But the community definitely came out. We had a good number of Masons and Eastern Stars, as well as fraternity members, sorority members, and family members who came.
Okay. Did any folks come from out of state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there were some relatives that came from Maryland.
From Maryland?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I came from D.C.
Right. And you came from D.C., that's for sure.
Yeah.
On that day, did anyone come and just kind of say, I hadn't been to this house in such a long period of time, or I remember this? Like, what were some of those?
Yeah,
what were some of the testimonies that came about that may have been shocking to some of you all?
I don't know that there was anything that was shocking, but I do know that there are people who live here who came who said, I remember running around, I remember when the house was a little higher off the ground and running around under the porch. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How do you see this as being the foundational work for what is going to come later on and that will reap benefits, not only for, you know, people like Miss Lily, who's seen this home for a long period of time, her husband, and Norman and other folks, but in the future, what are you hoping that this imprint will provide for future folks that come to Kingstree?
Genealogically, with both the research as well as DNA testing, my hope is to be able to connect with more relatives who we don't know,
Okay.
who will then find out about the house and have the opportunity to come here and learn more.
What is that first family reunion going to look like once
this
it's
is
done? Like, can you just imagine what that family reunion is going to look like?
I think, it's interesting because so many people have moved away. They don't like to come down here. There's nothing to do down there. It's hot. It's this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But I think at the point at which there's the opportunity to see what was always known as Uncle Weaver's house back up and running, back in its glory, I think then we will have people coming from Rochester, New York, Florida, Baltimore, California, wherever, to actually see and have that pride.
Yeah, I love it. And so there's a website.
Yes.
Tell people where they can go to support again and also find additional information.
You can go to Epps-McGill to find out more about the history of the house, the events we have coming up, and definitely to donate. Because, when we apply for grants, a lot of grants require matching funds. So maybe we'll apply for a $250,000 grant, but we may have to match up to 50% of that. So we're constantly working to raise funds. We currently have a 120-year campaign going on, which started last year with the house being started. The construction for the house started in 1905. And so in 2025, that was our 120th year, and we are continuing that campaign.
Yeah, that's quite a while.
Yeah.
But it's needed.
It's most definitely needed.
These older homes are not easy to repair.
No,
and there's always something that comes out.
There's always something that comes up, but also not just any construction company can work on it. They have to have experience with historic preservation, and those are few and far between.
Yeah.
Literally for the roof, our contractor was out of Charleston. Our roofer was out of North Carolina. So it's not like, we can just hire local. We would love to be able to hire local, but for certain parts of the house, we definitely can't do that.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
So in closing, and it's just been great. And again, I love a good Southern porch. Only thing we're missing is the sweet tea.
Right, exactly. The diabetes tea.
Well, and I can't even have it sweet no more, so I'm just drinking it straight. I can't. Yeah. I can't have the diabetes tea anymore.
Right.
And I miss it, but my body don't agree with it.
Right.
But it is nice to just kind of be able to sit on the front porch and just kind of people watch and car watch and everything.
And if the porch was closer, we see people throwing their hands up. We throw our hands
just like
up
we did at Mosquito Beach.
Yes,
everybody was honking and
exactly.
everything. So from a legacy standpoint, for Vicki McGill,
yes.
What is it that you hope this work does? And then in closing, if you don't mind, encouraging individuals who have the same kind of setup to stay focused, stay persistent. And we know there's ebbs and flows.
Yes.
With saying I'm ready to throw the whole project away versus not. Lean into some of that and tell us how that is represented in your life.
Legacy-wise, I think that it's just a sense of pride in doing this work and making sure that it can continue for generations. Because we're about restore, stabilize, preserve for future generations. For other families who have a historic house, who have historic land, do all you can. First, pay your taxes.
Right. First and foremost.
First and foremost, pay the property
sure.
taxes to make sure you do not lose that land. If it's heirs property, do what you have to do to work together to make sure that it continues. And also figure out what you want to do with that property and to preserve its history, whether there's a building on it or not. You know, there are things that you can do if it's, say, land with timber on it. Every 20 years or so, you could sell the timber to continue supporting the land.
This is true.
I've known families who they've gotten land and actually built buildings on the land that they could then use to host family events.
Yeah.
And if family can come to town and have everything for a family reunion on that property, that's much less money.
For sure.
I mean, so we're getting up into the $200 and more for family reunion fees. If you can have everything on that property, then you've knocked down that cost and making the reunion much more accessible for other family members.
Yeah, that's true. And that's part of your ministry, if you will.
Yes, it is certainly part of my ministry. I've
telling that.
ended up on many a family reunion committee.
Yeah. I'm big on like symbolic things.
Yes.
And I think from a symbolism standpoint, this tree's still standing when there's been multiple storms that have came through here.
Yes.
And this home is still standing as well.
Yes.
Do you see any symbolism in that?
I just see legacy. I see history. I see it's going to continue.
Yeah.
Both the house and the tree
Yeah.
are both still standing, and they're going to be here.
Firmly rooted.
Yes.
Firmly rooted.
Yes.
Good stuff. Well, you know, I appreciate you, Miss Lily. I appreciate Norman, and of course you, Vicki, for allowing us to come and interview you and walk us through the ancestral home. It's absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to see what it's going to look like once everything is done. If you can tell people again where they can support.
First and foremost, I would like to thank History Before Us for featuring the Epps-McGill Farmhouse. More information is available at Epps-McGillFarmhouse.org. As far as volunteering, when we have events, we always need more hands. As the older people say, many hands make light work. And planning an event, actually executing an event, definitely takes a lot of people, a lot of work. So we appreciate all the help. We appreciate donations, whether monetary or in kind.
Absolutely. And so I want to strongly encourage you all to support in any way possible. I am going to leave in the description more information about the site, as well as where you can support via the website. And like I always tell you, if you like this type of content, please make sure to subscribe and share, and also consider becoming a member for the channel. That was today's episode at the Epps-McGill Farmhouse here in the metropolis of Kingstree, South Carolina. Peace and blessings.